This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God.
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
It's very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
All right, welcome back everybody. We've got our penultimate instalment of our Liquid Action KartSport online racing events with the help of Scotty Fountain and the team at SimSpeed and Travis Smith down there, Dunedin. We've got some fantastic coverage for you tonight. Coming live and raw, we're coming from Bathurst tonight.
Online racing with the help
one
of
of
Scotty
the big homes of motorsport in Australia, and obviously running the 2020 V8 Supercar spec. So got a pretty exciting night. Got some pretty exciting drivers out there as well. Got my buddy Simon Evans joining me inside the comm box. Morning, mate. How you going? Or evening, should I say?
Yeah, morning, mate. Yeah, that other end of the day, mate. Yeah, really good.
Day,
Yeah, big day too. Yeah, really good. Really excited. Obviously, we saw Supercars at Mount Panorama last week with the V8 Supercars series, so quite cool to follow on from that. And obviously, some special drivers there too. But I'm really looking forward to the race 2, reverse grid race, and no damage. So that's going to be fairly entertaining, I reckon, TC.
Yep, as you said, Si, obviously 20 laps is our feature race this evening, full reverse. Before that, we've got a 10-lap race. Obviously, our grids are decided from our 20-minute qualifying coming up very shortly. So hopefully we're going to see some of our usual suspects joining us this evening. And we've also got another very special guest joining us from Queensland over there. Former KartSport racer. He's done a little bit of car racing in Australia. Our good buddy Scotty McLaughlin's joining us tonight. So hot off the heels of their e-racing series for supercars in Australia. They're going to be trackside, next week in Sydney Motorsport Park. So great to have Scotty join us.
Yeah, it's going to be super cool to have him on board. He's going to be competing as well and chatting with us while we're out there. So yeah, a bit of flavour. Obviously, years ago we used to see a whole lot of, we used to see even on the TV them talking to them after that. But it's going to be quite cool. We'll be able to chat to him. And very good of him to do this while he's actually going to be racing. So, but good, he's going to be competing against some Vortex Mini Rock guys. So I'm sure we'll want to be swapping some paint with him. But he's pretty quick on the simulator, so I'm sure he's going to have these guys covered.
Yeah, that's right. They're all very busy boys. Obviously, as we said, they're hot off the heels of their e-racing supercar series, so they're all very busy lads in their own right. So it's really cool for Scotty to join us this evening, and then even next week we might be looking at getting some other drivers in from that side of the ditch as well too. So it's should be a great night of racing. as we said, we did a bit of a poll earlier on this week, Simon, with the drivers voted where they wanted to go. So Bathurst was the pick. Obviously, 2020 Supercar was also the pick, and Damage Off and our 20 lap and 10 lap heat races were all the pick of the drivers. So they've all voted for what they're going to be running tonight. So we'll see how they all handle it.
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. It was we've had some pretty awesome racing over the past couple of weeks with the Skip Barbers, and it was we did have obviously supercars. I think it was week 2 we had that at Silverstone. So yeah, good mix for these guys to to throw their skills at it and try once again. So hopefully not too far away from here. Obviously the guys will just be all loaded into the servers now, and then we'll be straight into our 20-minute qualifying. So we have about 5 minutes for everyone to join. But really looking forward to a 20-minute qualifying, even though that might be quite long for some other places. Obviously, when you're doing a 2-minute lap, you're only going to be getting about 8-9 laps maximum. So, Tony, it's going to be pretty crucial to try smash out a lap pretty early, and also with this time module here at Bathurst as well, you got to you can only do a sort of 1 or 2 lap run too.
Yeah, that's right. It's the way that Travis and Scott have engineered our event for this evening. Obviously, we've got a pit stop in the second race, but as you said about the time module and the grip level is also going to increase with the car as well as we go along. But as you said, certainly Bathurst is a long lap, so 20 minutes may sound like a long time, but you are going to see very limited laps gained by people. They're going to have to make the most of their early laps and make the most of that green tyre, as we can imagine, and go from there. So we can see them obviously just kicking off now. We won't know how many people we'll have joining us this evening. Obviously, multiple servers up and running. I would imagine, with Scotty Mack joining us tonight, there's probably going to be a bit of a growth in driver numbers. But we've certainly catering for all those people that have supported the KartSport events over the past 7 weeks, brought to you by Liquid Action. It's going to be really good for all those young drivers competing against people like Scotty that they've no doubt looked up to through their karting career.
Yeah, and obviously, Scotty's obviously the patron for KartSport New Zealand, so it's good for him to get involved into this, iKartSport, our Chocolate Fist Club days online, and hey, he might be able to be the guy who puts it into Jaden Ransley's winning streak as well. Obviously, Jaden Ransley's fairly hot at the moment, 4 on the trot for him, so really solid job. And I'm sure he's a nice competitive guy, and he would have liked to see the challenge of Scott joining him. He's probably watched him most weeks do the Supercar series, and now he's going to be able to see if he can go out there and match him. And obviously, with watching Scotty in that Supercar series, he obviously P2 in the 10-week series, and was always at that pointy end, always in that top 3. So really cool. But Tony, we jump on board with Jaden now, and he's straight behind Scott McLaughlin.
Yeah, that's right. Very much true life. Put yourself in a good position for qualifying where you can chase someone down. I think Scotty running the very unfamiliar number of 24 this evening. So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. But as we see, Scotty McLaughlin jumps to the front of the running queue at the moment with a 2:03, with the 2.5 second margin over Jaden Ransley. Certainly, probably unsurprisingly, given the amount of laps that Scott's actually done in real life and on the sim at Bathurst here. So a pretty healthy margin so far for Scott. Jaden Ransley, as we said, he's been a pretty hard man to beat so far the last couple of weeks. I think, like I said, 4 on the trot. Leo Scott there, P3, Isaac Fletcher, and Nathan Crang, Travis Smith. Good to see some of our returning names this week, Simon. Yeah,
absolutely. It's been awesome to see so many guys support this series from the start really, and come in each week and work with us to adjust formats, adjust cars, circuits. We've had such a good range of mixture of cars and circuits, and ones that don't normally go together. but obviously for us this side of the world, it's a fairly iconic one, and I'm loving all these liveries. We had a Smeg livery last week.
Oh, here
Callum,
we go. Here we go.
we got the Callum Quinn. He's having a bit of a moment, but he's probably just admiring the livery as well. So we've got that. And as we go, Stephen Beaumont last week had the Smeg one, and now he's surprised me. He's got my my Super Black livery from when I did DBS out there. So that's pretty cool. He's put a lot of effort into it, and it looks like it's come up trumps again. So maybe Callum and Stephen Beaumont are going to have to half the chocolate fish for the tied for the top looking livery, Tony.
God, you're certainly you're a man of many liveries, aren't you, mate? You've probably had as many liveries as BJR's had in one season. It's pretty hard to keep up, mate. God, I totally forgot about the Super Black livery. And here we go on board. We've even got the helmet and the wet and forget suit on. So Stephen's certainly either looking for sponsors, looking for Owen to try and support him as he has a bit at the moment there, or he's certainly picked some really cool liveries. Obviously, we've got Penrite Racing here, Isaac Fletcher. This very same livery that David Reynolds and Anton Di Pasquale run in the Supercars series. So we're going to see some cool colours out there tonight. Just a little over halfway, or just over halfway in qualifying here, Simon. So Scotty Mack still with a healthy margin over Jaden Ramsey. Leo Scott's jumped up to P3. Callum Pratt, as we see Fulton Penny. That's a name I haven't seen for a while. If I remember right, Bay of Plenty Carter popped up there into P2. So still just under 2.5 second margin there off P1. Going down the order, we're seeing plenty of people that have joined us every week. Ollie Workman, Sam Dunstall, Braden Snowden, all those names starting to pop into the fold now, Simon. So it'll be interesting to see how many we actually get with all our service once we put them all together, Simon.
Yeah, exactly right. And a big moment there for Fulton Penny. Just collected poor Scott on the way through. But yeah, great to see some names. One name I just picked up there at the bottom of the time list, which we haven't seen for a while, was Jackson Susan Harlow, who was obviously very quick in that first race, and he was the benchmark when we were at Silverstone in the Supercars. So they were the older generation car. Now we're obviously with the Mustang and the ZB Commodore, so the latest generation. But as you see here, just obviously it's quite crucial to get the tyre up to temp and also not use up a lot of the tyre on the outlet. So warming the brakes up, obviously such a long outlet here as well. But they'll be starting to set up as they come through the chase. But that looks like it's Mitch Sparrow is running the Brock Feeney livery. So he ran the wild card in the Supercars events. So great to see a variety of liveries out there as well. I also saw an old HRT livery out there as well, Tony. But
yeah, people are really embracing some of those old liveries, aren't they? So it's really cool to see.
Yeah, so let's obviously just over 8 minutes left in the session to go now, and let's ride on board here for a lap of the Mount Panorama Bathurst circuit with Jackson Susan Harlow. So turn 1, quite a tricky corner actually, because it's quite a steep gradient. You don't really see it from the TV, but getting a run out of there is so crucial, because obviously it carries the momentum all the way up the hill, which is even more crucial. Big break down here, down to third gear. Turn in. Once again, another real crucial exit. You can get on the power really early here, because use the gradient of the circuit. Up through the cutting, really tricky break was for me anyway. Obviously still got a little bit of steering lock on, but up through there, up through Fujitsu. Flat from here all the way down through the Great, one of the best corners in the world for motorsport. Up, and then we're going to see flying into Brock Skyline as he has a bit of a moment there, and just sees how the car's on such a knife edge, even the simulator world, that it's so easy to make a mistake. But we jump on board here with Ollie Workman. He's got the Penske livery as well. It looks like it's Scott coming up behind him, so good to see a bit of support for Scott out there, Tony.
Yeah, I must say I do like Ollie's spec with the black wheels. I think maybe Scotty can take that back to the team at Shell V Power Racing and maybe suggest they might go through and powder coat some of the wheels, because I certainly like the car with the black wheels on there. It does look sharp. So as we jump on board Stephen Beaumont here, and Stephen actually running in 4th position. He's been sort of hovering around that top 6, top 7 every meeting. And I don't think it's anything to do with the livery he's got in the car. It's probably just a good job, to be fair. So, but he's been one of our top place contenders every weekend. So good to see him back again this week, doing a great job. And as we said, he's currently in 4th position. So Fulton Penn, as you said, it's a name we hadn't seen for a while. He's just dropped to 5th position. Was 2nd there for a while. Jaden Ransley's managed to sneak that margin to Scotty Mack down to sort of 1.9 seconds. So still a little bit of work to do there for Jaden. We know he's probably one of the more experienced, or he's done probably the most laps as far as our Kiwi sim races goes. We know he just spends a hell of a lot of time on it, and his results the past couple of weeks has been proof of that. Nathan Anderson there in P3, sitting reasonably comfortable. He's only got sort of 1/10 of the margin over Stephen Beaumont. Leo Scott, Ed Williams, last I looked, he was sitting down 20th position, so Ayrton's put in a stellar lap, the Veloci karting driver from Hamilton, 2.5 seconds off our pole up there. So, down to sort of 7th position, they're all sort of teetering on that similar margin up to P1 there. So, and I think here with as we jump on board with Ayrton Williams there, and as we go up through the cutting, and it looks like he's actually running an old Wilson Security DJR livery there. So,
yeah. Quite cool, isn't it? Yeah, such a bright car, bright colours, so you really will be picking him out of the bunch. But so easy to tag the wall up through here, and obviously with those off tracks or the contact points that you get, obviously cancels out the lap. But so far looking like a pretty clean lap. He might get a bit of traffic here as he comes down into the dipper, and hopefully they might just move out of the way, because but so easy just to tag that wall, and that puts you into the lap. But obviously we're not running any damage tonight, so at least you can actually just get your thoughts back up, reset the mind, and then press on for another lap. As we see Jaden Ransley starting another heater here, so let's see. Obviously he's seemed pretty comfortable in 2nd, but that gap behind him, like you mentioned, Tony, is pretty tight, so he'll be wanting to try see if he can chomp into that margin that Scott's got over him.
It was certainly interesting talking to Scotty before we started our broadcast. Before we'd been involved with the KartSport stuff with the commentary and what have you, so I sort of said I hadn't done a huge amount or any sim racing at all. I think I'm probably far too old for it. I'm not really never really been a gamer, but the last time I did drive a sim was actually on Scotty's own simulator when he was based in Melbourne, and he does remember how average I was. I think, as we said, I nearly wrote actually the sim off itself. But he says his new sim certainly would make things a lot easier, and we have touched on that briefly, haven't we? Sort of having some good equipment under you, just like having in the real life, as far as your equipment underneath you in a race car or a car. It certainly does help having good equipment, and some of these boys have certainly invested some good money, or some of their parents' money, I suppose you could say, into some good sim equipment over that lockdown period, Si?
Yeah, mate, that's exactly right. But I think yes, it's a little bit of money, but you're still also you're keeping race fit mentally as well, and trying new things out in terms of lines and that all important racecraft. As we just see Jackson Harlow has pipped Scotty McLaughlin for pole so far, so he's a nice little 2/10 over him. The only driver so far in the to get under the 203 bracket. So let's see if Scott can reply here. I'm not too sure if Scott's on the circuit at the moment, or if he's is that him there? That's Scott. See, obviously in the 24. Obviously we're so used to seeing him in the 17 entry, but running 24 tonight. Obviously the 17 already taken, but he's on a lap here, so relatively tiny first sector with a 46.2. Coming up to a bit of traffic, but what an awesome shot, isn't it? Through the grate there. as they pop up, head on to Brock's Skyline. It's such a hard part of the circuit. Let's hope this traffic in front of him doesn't hold him up, because it looks like he's plenty of attitude on the car, down into the dipper. Really important drive all the way down here. He's done lots of laps, so he might even have the beneficiary of a draft here from a few of the guys. So gets it in Forest Elbow. Exit's definitely going to be compromised here a little bit, but this draft team might be able to help him up. As you can see, him tucks right in behind him, pulls out last minute, and he'll know whether he's up or not looking at the relative, but he'll be able to sneak in and get one more lap. Tony is a minute 30 left on the clock. He'll have one more opportunity to try and get that pole back.
Yeah, plenty of time for him to get all the way down to Murray's, down onto the pit straight and start another lap. So certainly Jackson Susan-Harlow, he was the performer early on. Like, we're going back, what are we now? 9-10 weeks, Simon. God, time's flying. So we can see Jackson Susan-Harlow just parked in pit lane there. So Scotty McLaughlin not quite able to pop Jackson off the P1 there. So obviously Jackson in the number 18 car this evening, actually carrying the same livery that he had the first time he ran it at Silverstone. So Scotty's going to start another hot lap and see if he can get back on P1. He'll probably want to settle for nothing less, just like any race car or a high-profile car. They do the best every time they go out. So he's going to push on, see if he can shrink that margin down, and we can see our sectors on the bottom of the screen there. And as you said, Scotty will be watching the relatives on his own data, based at home there in Queensland. So very similar to exactly what he'd be doing in the race car if he was at Bathurst in real time. So he'll be watching his sectors and racing those greens and reds and those relatives as you see if he can get back on that P1. So Jaden Ransley obviously still in P3. Zane Hill's another one of our top performer. I know Zane's been doing a hell of a lot of sim racing. Did some European stuff. I saw something pop up somewhere, and he's been doing all sorts of stuff and all sorts of formulas online. So very active as young Zane, the Auckland-based Urban Performance driver there in Rotax Light, and same Nathan Anderson, Stephen Beaumont, our sort of P5 through to P10, still remaining pretty stagnant as it was before. As we go back down through the order, a couple of other familiar names: Oscar Goldfinch, Brad Still, Callum Quinn as well, one of your previous teammates in your Super Tourer there, Simon. Callum currently in P14.
Yeah, he's good. He's been spending a little bit of time when he can. Obviously, I know Callum's still working at the moment, so he's on when he can get on. So, and he's been off and on by the KartSport series as well when he's been available. So good to see him back here tonight for our Bathurst round. As we're just seeing the final end of our laps here. Bit of a moment there, and oh no, Zane Hills. It looks like that's right in front of Jaden Ransley as well. So Isaac Fletcher here, no sectors up, so might just be on the end of lap. You can see the time there, 2:20. So he's definitely not going to go faster, but really good benchmark for all these young guys who have obviously been out running each week. When Jaden's been the benchmark, but then to have the likes of Harlow and McLaughlin back to show, hey, there is probably a little bit more room for improvement there, and obviously to get better, you need to compete against the best, and we've probably got that tonight with Harlow and McLaughlin competing, Tony.
Yeah, just think when you think you're doing a good job and you've been chipping away every weekend, whether it be at golf or whatever, and then and a couple of stars come out and just smash you right out of the park. So it's really cool to have these guys here, and it will certainly help the other guys step up a little bit as well too. And I'm sure there'll be something to be gained for those guys sort of floating around those top six if they can tag on the back of Jackson and Scotty. I'd say there's certainly going to be a lot to be learned from those guys. So as we're in inside that final minute of our 20-minute qualifying there, size, I would imagine Jackson Susan-Harlow probably still in the P1 as we wait for our results to be updated on the side of our vision here, and then we can have a look to sort of see how we'll be roughly starting our first 10-lap race. As we've said in the past, we've always got a number of servers that are running, and we'll be joining a few of those together. So but you can see as currently Scott Mock just 2/10 off Jackson Susan Harlow and Jane Ramsey P3 Zane Hills. So probably, 4 very active sim races there from P1 to 4 and all the way down as we see our finished results here. So Ford Mustang, obviously, the pick of the bunch here this evening as we go down through our top 10. So Callum Pratt there, just over 3 seconds, so 3.1 seconds off the pole of Jackson Susan Harlow there. Ed Williams, Leo Scott, Fulton Penny, Stephen Beaumont, Nathan Anderson, Zane Hills making our way up to P1 there. And then obviously from 11 through to P20, Brad Still, 20th position, 6.2 seconds off the lead there. Nathan Cedino, Cameron Freeman, the South Island driver, Mitchell Sparrow, Taylor Bryant, Bailey Walker, Callum Quinn, Nathan Crane, the running out of the NZ Motorsport stable in Auckland, Isaac Fletcher and Travis Smith, also one of our hosts here. So a few of the Commodores kicking around outside the top 10 there, so I can't say I want to be very pleased about that.
No, my dad definitely bleeds red. So yeah, plenty of Mustangs and only the one Holden in the top 10. So good for all those Ford supporters out there. It's such a nice, healthy rivalry that we're so fortunate to have in our sport. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you sit on. It's always pretty good to have some pretty friendly banter. And Bathurst is probably the best place to have that. If you've ever been, obviously you can go up to the hill and such diehard fans, but they're such passionate fans. So you can have such a good time with them as well. I've been up there, been fortunate enough to be up there a couple of times. So if you ever want to go over, go up the top. It's such an awesome experience and one that everyone should experience.
Yeah. And I think what we'll be doing there, team, is we're going to shoot to a very quick ad break. We'll get all the service sorted out, and we'll be back shortly there, team, for our Liquid Action KartSport event.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
All right, welcome back there from that short break there, team. Back to the Liquid Action by KartSport event. This is our 7th night on the calendar, coming to you from Bathurst this evening, running the 2020 Supercar Spec. Just on the back end of our 20-minute qualifying there, Simon, and no surprises, we've got an All-Australian front row this evening, Simon.
Well, yeah, almost, obviously. We've got to claim Scotty back as our own, but some really experienced sim racers. Jackson, Susan Harlow, and on pole with Scott McLaughlin, obviously Kiwi Supercar champion, right next to him. So they're ahead of Jaden Ransley, who's won the last 4 races on the trot. So he'll have the bit between his teeth to try and tackle them. But standing start here, really cool staggered start. So not something we're used to seeing at Bathurst. But hey, turn 1, Tony, is going to be super interesting. It's going to be pretty important to get out of here nice and clean.
That's right. As we said, damage off. So it's going to be interesting to sort of see who puts the car in the hole in a tidy position. And we're away there, Simon. So down into turn 1 we head. Jackson Susan Harlow's going to stay left as we take the long run down towards Mountain Straight. So a little bit of an issue there for Stephen Beaumont back there in the Super Black Racing livery. Scotty McLaughlin's jumped back to 3rd. So a reasonably clean start so far as they all file down Mountain Straight. And we've got plenty of different liveries there. See the old Wilson Security DJR Team Penske livery there. As we get down into turn 2, making our way up towards the cutting. So far, a reasonably clean start this side.
Yeah, relatively clean so far. As commentators cursor just caught in the background. Yeah, a few coming together. Didn't quite catch who it was, but perfect start for Harlow. He's already got a 1.4 second margin over Scott McLaughlin. As we see, he's still coming together. Not quite too sure who that is. That's Bailey Walker there in the Ford Mustang. So just coming back in front of the guys. Nissan on the Ford Mustang livery there. So it's definitely all still action pack heading down the pack. Tony, it's no damage, so at least you can you don't have to go back to the pits and get a quick repair or anything like that. But at least we've got to have that reverse grid race as well, so that you won't be too bad to be having a bad race in this first one. As we come together all the way down the hill there. But as we go back to the front there, Scott McLaughlin pulled a nice little gap over Jaden Ransley now, but he's still 1.5 seconds behind Harlow, heading into the chase for the first lap. I mean, what do you want to do from here, Tony? What would be your sort of game plan?
Well, given it's only 10 laps, you'd want to pin the ears back and just push on and try and get on the back of that leading car if I was Scott McLaughlin. Same with Jaden Ramsey as well. While they're still in that sort of within that window where you can use them as that mobile braking marker, you want to make the most of that, because as soon as they break that air and you lose them out of that vision, because obviously any good racing driver is going to have their vision lifted nice and high. As soon as they get out of that vision, that's when you're going to start worrying about what's behind you. So, other thing to note is obviously Scotty McLaughlin in P2. He's back in his familiar number 17. He was running number 24 in qualifying, which might have confused a few people. So, Scotty back in number 17. Jaden Ransley there, P3. As we see Mike Muir having a bit of an issue there down at Murray's, just towards on the last turn. They're coming down towards the front straight. So, coming together with a Monster Energy livered car there as well. And Arthur Browen there as well. Obviously, part of the Liquid Action stable. So great to have Arthur back on the track, but obviously not in a position that he'd want to be at the moment, heading down towards turn one, a fair way down the field as we follow Isaac Fletcher up through the cutting there. So.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's shown some really good progress over the past few weeks, so obviously just had a bit of an unlucky first lap. But yeah, as we go on to Zane Hills now, as he comes down through the cutting here, he's having a really good battle with Nathan Anderson, and they're trying to hunt down Ben Stewart just in front of him. Now this is a really good showing here by Ben Stewart. He's actually not too far off Jaden Ransley. So it looks like Tim Tops is for him. He's shown some pretty good, obviously, form in the MX-5s and the slim cars for him, but Skip Barber probably wasn't for him. As we follow here on board with Jaden Ransley, that gap is between him and Scotty McLaughlin has sort of plateaued a bit, so he's obviously got those tyres up to temp now, starting to get into his groove and run him down. But they obviously won't want to battle too much, Tony, but as they've pulled a nice little gap over 4th, 5th and 6th now, and that's just probably where the experience of doing lots of sim racing comes into its own a little bit.
Yeah, you can certainly see Jaden's pushing on their side. Like he's, as we talk about that moving braking mark, pulling time out of Scotty under brake. But in saying that, like he's missing a few of his apexes. Like he's probably getting in a little bit too hot, and it can be easy to suck yourself in. You see you're catching, so you're going to be a little bit later on the brake next time, and then before you know it, you've missed that turning point. So, bit of a balancing act for Jaden. He needs to try and shrink that margin as smooth as he can, but he doesn't want to be taking big chunks out of him under brakes and then losing any gain he's made when he gets to the apex, because he's actually missed it by half a car width. So bit of management on Jaden's behalf there might get him onto the back of Scotty, as we see that margin's just growing out a little bit to 4.1 seconds. So Jaden may have had a little bit of a moment there, and he might have just overcooked it a little bit, as we see at the moment. So Scotty's actually had a bit of a moment there as we've come up over towards the grate. So we're going to jump on board our Motum simulation replay here and see what's happened. So up through the cutting, all pretty straightforward. Really hard section here because the track tapers off a little, track ramps up a little bit. So he's got the car turned up, and he's done a bit of a Chaz Mostert, where Chaz had that massive accident going down through the dipper a couple of years ago. He's just caught that inside wall and just turned down a little bit early, caught the wall, and then bounced onto the outside. And as we said, no damage, so he can push on. But that's certainly going to drop Scotty McLaughlin down the order, which is a bit of a shame, because it was going to be a good battle with those top three their side.
Yeah, it was for sure, but he's got great pace, so I'm sure he'll be able to get back up into that third. But the other cool thing, guys, is if you've got another laptop around, jump onto Scott's Twitch, because he's going to be doing a live on Twitch tonight, so you can see all his reaction and he'll be talking through that as well. So if you've got a spare computer, get that, and you'll be able to see his real life reaction. But back to the action here with Leo Scott. He's got Brad Winslow just in front of him there in the Sparkle entry. Really, he's got a great run out on him as he comes up to Murray's corner. But it looks like Brad's going to go a little bit defensive, moves back out to the last minute, because he can't really cover there, because otherwise it's so easy to do the crossover, as he's just done that exactly on didn't quite catch who that was. Was that Corey Green potentially? In the 24. I might just have to come back. It might just have to come back to see who that exactly was. But he's in the draft here, and he's going to be such an important run up here. It's a little bit hard to get the up and under or the crossover because obviously the cutting goes the opposite direction, but you can still get yourself into a great position, Tony, and apply a bit of pressure to make them run wide into the cutting, and that's, I'm sure, what he's trying to set up here.
Yeah, as we see, Chester Baccaris has got it parked in the old. He's got the old super cheap auto, the Russell livery there, so he's sort of facing the wrong way up through the cutting. So as we chase down the number 17 to Scott McLaughlin as we go down through the dipper. So Scott's currently in 7th position, obviously after he had that moment not far out of the cutting. So he's coming down onto Conrod Straight, down through the dipper section there. And he's all over the back of Fulton Penny, the Bay of Plenty driver. So Fulton's obviously looking at his mirrors. He's seen Scott get a good run down onto Conrod, so he's going to stay left as they head down through our last couple of sections down towards the hotel. And that's going to gain Scott another position up to P6. So although he did have a bit of a moment, Fulton's actually still sort of got the nose in there trying to have a bit of a battle. But good for Scotty to actually jump back down the order as well to have some battles with some of the people that would obviously normally be watching him on supercars. So as they complete another lap there, current running order: Jackson, Susan, Harlow, very active sim racer out of Australia. Recently actually competed in the ETCR series as a wild card, so might not be a name many of you are aware of. Jackson's a very, very successful sim racer in Australia, and his current form is proof of that. As we see Leo Scott, this battle ensuing as we go down towards Murray's Corner, down onto the pit straight down towards turn 1 before they attack Mountain Straight for another lap, and then back up here with Mitchell Sparrow running in P11 there. So we've got lots of different names, some really cool livery there with the old Ford Sierra shell livery there on board there. I think is at the number 36. That certainly has that's got my pick of the liveries this evening, so I'd have to say.
Yeah, it's okay, mate. You can. I've already taken 2 other liveries, so you can have that one. But that's Paul Dowdle, obviously been a really a nice regular and has been a really consistent performer of our KartSport series as well. So another good show in here, running 10th. So it'd be good for him to get another solid top 10. But he's starting to apply the blowtorch to Isaac Fletcher. It's so easy to make a mistake going down through here and just tag the ball. So you just want to apply the, do what Lounsey does, do his little tricks, show the nose early, and try and get him to force a mistake. Obviously coming into the best passing opportunity of the circuit, keys to get such an important run off Forest Elbow, just as Paul Dowdle has done. And as we go into this awesome shot out looking over the rear wing, as we see that Ford Mustang start creeping up, and he goes to the inside. So let's see if he can get the job done. It looks like he might be able to squeeze on by, but don't think Isaac's going to give it up too easily. He's got another great opportunity to try and get him back as they head down to the to Murray's Corner, Tony.
Yeah, so good job by Paul Dowdle there. Obviously that's a fairly committed move off the end of Conrod, down through the virtually nearly flat right into the left, and you certainly didn't see that car or Dowdle's get out of shape at all. So, and that sort of comes down to the experience as we come down towards turn 2 at the end of our pit straight there. So Paul going defensive. This is a sprint race, people. Remember, this isn't 161 laps that we'd normally be used to watching around here. So it's all on for the young and old. The elbows are out, and if guys are going to be going defensive, it certainly makes sense, obviously, as we're just a little bit over our halfway point here at Bathurst. As we said, our 7th night here, team, and our Liquid Action supported KartSport events, and obviously brought to our usual partners, with KartSport New Zealand, with Giltrap Group, Carter's Tyre, obviously assisting with that as well too. So one of pretty cool format to sort of be getting in the last couple of our Liquid Action supported here events there. So what better event could you ask for at Bathurst, sort of the home of Australasian motorsport, and a formula that we all follow very closely with a lot of very successful Kiwi drivers side.
Yeah, I'm sure every single go-kart and everyone watching this obviously watches the Bathurst 1000. So obviously it was great to have the first weekend of KartSport racing back up and running. I popped out to Rosebank Road, so it was such a cool to see so many people out there. It was actually, you struggled to get a car park, so it just shows when you starve people of live sport in terms of real sport as well. It draws a really good crowd, and it was great to see some names who have been following in the KartSport events out there racing as well. So I caught up with the Brays, who with Daniel last week. He was running Zach Blinko and a few guys. So yeah, good to see them out in the real wood as well. As we jump on board here with Scott McLaughlin, I mean, how cool would it be for these guys to actually see on their relative and that they got Scott McLaughlin chasing them down? Such a neat experience, and one that we're very lucky to have. So he's obviously on the back of Zane Hills here, and then just in front of them we've got his teammate Nathan Anderson as well. So 3 laps to go. Obviously, as you're going up further the field, it's going to be a little bit harder because obviously the speed of these guys is increasing as well. So I'm sure he'll be setting up, and his ideal passing opportunity will be down through the chase. As Tony, we've got this battle here which is still going on. It's Leo Scott. He's doing such a great job. He's up to 13th now.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we've got Bunnings supporting Leo Scott this evening, I think, if that's right. So here we are thinking that Bunnings are actually struggling here in New Zealand, and they're splashing out money on esports
Green,
and sponsoring supercars. It's Corey Green, is it? No, Corey Green in the... That's right there. So Corey Green's got the Bunnings sponsorship, so no doubt a Bay of Plenty Bunnings store, the Bay of Plenty Sody kart driver. So he's got the Bunnings livery on there this evening. So once again, Corey, a very active sim racer, been joining us most evenings. Hasn't quite had the rub of the green, as you'd say. Been very fast at times, sort of popped inside the top 6 or 7. Seemed to have sort of got caught up in other people's mischief. So it would be good to see Corey finish the last couple of weeks off with a bit of a high, and he's certainly very experienced to know what he's capable of as he's currently in P14 there. So the number 15 running in P4, as we see a massive moment here. So Scotty McLaughlin trying to come back through these boys.
I think
Zane Hills might have been. It might have been actually. So maybe Scotty Mack has been putting a bit of pressure on Zane Hills there, and he may have outbraked him. We're going to come back for a replay, I think, and I know that all we can sort of see. It's all go here. We've only got a number of laps to run, so Zane Hills has bombed it down the inside. Isn't anywhere near past the B pillar, so Scotty's well entitled to as we do the big run down Mountain Straight there. So as we come up, the cars get a little bit light. The car's running hard on the right there, so Scott's got to go to the left as we head down into turn 2. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? Too easy. So he's just got the car pulled up, but he obviously has run out of racetrack there, Scotty McLaughlin. And you'll see Nathan Anderson's done a very clean job, plenty of racing room given by everybody as we head up into what was formerly known, it's now Tyre Power, but in my day was sort of the BP cutting as we follow this battle here. So this is looking great.
Yeah, plenty of racing room given by both these guys as well. So plenty of respect shown out there by both parties. Down through the grate, obviously not too many opportunities up through here. So it's going to be pretty line astern, but once again, easy to make a mistake. Obviously off Skyline here. Down the hill, plenty of curb on the left-hand side. Make sure you don't tag the wall on the right. Brake, then straight on the gas out through the dipper. Try obviously not to do what Jazz did a few years ago, and then into Forest Elbow. Nathan's got a little bit defensive there. I think he just tagged the inside wall as well, and but it also kind of compromised Scott's exit. So if you're Zane Hills, where do you go? Do you push Scott or do you push your teammate? It looks like he's trying to draw favours with the supercar driver, and he's going to give him a big old butt draft down here, and he's going to push him past his teammate.
Yeah, so that's certainly no team orders within the Anderson Hills group there as Zane Hill pushes Scott McLaughlin, and it actually causes himself a massive moment there, and completely misses his braking point. So I think he got pretty wrapped up in the NASCAR bump draft and forgot to brake down towards the hotel there. So we're as our laps run down their side, so Jackson Susan-Harlow, our leader, with a very comfortable margin over Jaden Ramsey. So a little like Nelly coming up to 12 seconds. So a really convincing run by Jackson Susan-Harlow this evening there. Obviously, Scotty McLaughlin's still well deep in this battle here with Nathan Anderson, and Zane Hills and Ben Stewart there has come into the fold now as well too. So it's in P3, P4 at the moment as they head up towards the cutting their side.
Yeah, I'm not too sure obviously what happened there, because it looked like Scott was comfortably in front of Nathan Anderson, so maybe just a slight mistake, and that's got Anderson back in front, so he'll be trying to repeat the same move again, but it looks like he won't have that bump, someone to have give him a bump draft down the straight. But really tidy effort here by Ben Stewart as well. He's hanging on to these guys. He's obviously was the benefactor of Zane Hills running wide, and he's looking really racy down the hill. So a little bit of a mistake there, but if he gets a good drive here, he'll have the perfect draft position as they head into the chase. So, but it looks like Zane Hills has just bombed it down the inside. Nice clean move, but that sort of obviously hurt their run down. Let's see, Tony, what they can do as well. Lap car get out of the way. But it looks like Scott's trying to get in that draft, but Nathan Anderson is moving all over the track trying to break it.
Yeah, that's he's certainly been watching plenty of Bathurst footage, young Nathan Anderson. So massive moment as we head down into the fast left-hander, slightly off camber. They always grab a little bit of curb down through the fast right. We do our fast run down towards the last corner, down to Murray's. Heavy braking area as we approach the final lap. So really good job by the Anderson and Hills, their team. They're certainly keeping Scott McLaughlin on their toes. As we said, as we start our final lap down towards our turn one, which is going to give us our run down towards Mountain Straight there, Simon. So big fast run down here. Obviously, we've got a little over 2 minutes of racing left for these boys to sort their positions out. Someone could come a cropper, or we might have a nice clean finish and see where they stay. So I will watch this one.
Yeah, obviously Scott's got the draft here up into turn two. Can he get it done? Anderson hanging on the outside, just on the white, on the dirty stuff. And even if you have a little bit of overlap here, it looks like he doesn't quite have it, so he just has to slot straight in back behind Scott. But he's got Zane Hills there right on behind him, so he's managed to dispatch Stewart. But if they stay close enough here, that draft has such a massive effect, they might be able to get him heading down. But down through the grate for the final time. Such a fantastic shot. This has tagged the wall on the exit. To give him a bit of paint off. Missed the apex slightly, and that's definitely hurt Zane Hills. Take a bit of pressure off Nathan Anderson to try and tackle Scott down the final Conrod straight, Tony.
Yeah, you can see Zane Hills was certainly pushing on as we got up through McPhillamy Park there and cost himself a bit of space. But as we go back down through as our run onto Conrod Straight, Zane Hills is certainly trying hard. We can see that car just tagging the concrete wall on the right-hand side. So lap traffic, obviously staying to the right. Scott McLaughlin's going to run to the left. We've got the headlights ablaze on Nathan Anderson's car as we head down towards our last couple of corners. So the ability for those boys to have a draft.
He's had a go.
So massive big move down towards the left-hander there. So nice clean racing by both these boys. Scotty's given him room on the outside, and Nathan hasn't run too far up and to the right. As we go down towards the last corner, Scott McLaughlin's going to keep the car to the left, and our last run up towards the checkered flag, and Scott McLaughlin brings it home in P3 after dropping a fair way down the order. So good effort by him. He certainly wasn't given the easy card by those boys at any stage. As we watch the remainder of the field start to finish off. So this battle pack that we talked about with Corey Green and the like, and that whole group there, they're just finishing off as we come down towards Murray's Corner for the last time. So Certainly, you'd say the parity's pretty good. All these guys have been running line astern, and we've obviously seen a lot of people develop through the KartSport series and certainly get used to the different formulas we've run now up into probably one of the harder cars to drive. So good showing by everyone, and a really, really impressive first race there for the night, Simon.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And what I liked about it is, that battle at the end was just so clean as well. Plenty of respect and racing room given, and they went side by side through a lot of corners there. Obviously, up through turn 2, down obviously through the chase and that. So really cool to see that there's some respect given amongst all the guys as well. So here we are on board with Gareth and William Exton, 18th position. Into the chase for the final time. Little bit looks like he's had a little bit of a lonely race. No one really around him. That's okay. Starting at 18th, he's definitely not going to miss out on any action at the start of the next race, Tony.
No, that's right. Probably hasn't got himself in a bad position. Obviously, full reverse grip for our 20-lap feature race this evening, Simon. So sort of going to start around that mid-pack, so not a bad place to be. You're not sort of back right in the thick of it at the back where some of those faster guys will be coming through, and anyone that's going to be in front of you should have a decent margin on. So results for Heat 1 there, Simon. So run and won by Jackson Susan Harlow, our Australian driver. 10 laps convincing, nearly 20 seconds the margin to Jaden Ransley. Obviously, Jaden Ransley performing very well, so good to see him being challenged this week. Scott McLaughlin, our Queensland-based Kiwi supercar driver. Great to have Scotty here this evening. P3 after battling back after a moment up through the cutting. Nathan Anderson, P4, Zane Hills, P5. They gave Scott a good run right to the checkered flag. Benny Stewart, the Wellington driver, P6. Fulton Penny out of Bay of Plenty. Good to see that name pop back up into a KartSport related results sheet there. P7, Zach Blinko 8, Isaac Fletcher, Paul Dowdle, all our familiar names from the previous week's racing there, Simon. So 11 to 20 is all yours.
Yeah, so Nathan Crang, good result there, 11th. Plenty of action by Leo Scott, 12th. He had a great battle with Corey Green in 13th. Then Mitch Sparrow, Brad Winslow, Nathan Sedino, Braden Snowden, Bailey Walker, Stephen Beaumont obviously had a spin at the coming up turn 1, so good recovery to 19th, and Oscar Goldfinch rounding out our top 20, a minute 52 off the lead. So Mike Muir, we saw him caught up in a spin as well. 21st, Shane Olsen, Gareth Exton, or William Exton, Phil Winter, Taylor Bryant, Ayrton Williams, not a good run, he's a lap down. Our own Travis Smith, Callum Quinn, Callum Pratt, and Ryan Bailey, all a lap down as well. So Peter Roberts, Cameron Freeman, our resident KartSport steward, Simon Berling Carriage, Arthur Browan, Brad Still, Chester Beckeris, Ollie Workman, Leroy Stevenson, and Sam Dunstall. All obviously few issues there, laps down, but they're going to be in the prime position for our next race. So we're going to cut to a quick ad break, everyone, but you want to hang around. Race 2, reverse grid, 20 laps at Bathurst with damage off. It's fair to say it's going to be one worth the watch.
the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
Cool, guys. Thanks for hanging around for a quick ad break there. Just sort out those servers that you'll be familiar with. So not too far away, only roughly maybe 4 to 5 minutes, and we'll be up for race 2. But TC, that was a cool first race, wasn't it? Plenty of action, lots of respectful racing. But one thing I missed was obviously Harlow snapped Jaden Ransdale's winning streak too.
Yeah, how was it? Like, it was, we're 10 laps, complete damage off, but really respectful by everybody, and good to see Jackson Harlow, the Australian driver, probably not so good. Some people might disagree with me, but he did a good job. And
Dave would be happy. Dave Serra, he'll be happy.
Dave would be absolutely stoked. That's right. So,
I'm agree.
And we're all ready for race 2. 20 laps, full reverse grid, and we've also got a pit stop as well here too. There's Simon.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, isn't it? Where do you go? Obviously, do you just split the race in half, just come in lap 10, nice even strategy, or do you try an undercut that we see in supercars so often? So all these guys are going to be doing it by themselves as well. I know they're doing supercars, they've got engineers doing it for them, but we're away here and they haven't even got 200 metres off the line, and it looks like there's a bit of contact. So hope these guys at the back end eyes up, and it's still carrying on the exit of turn 1 here, Tony, but looks like it could be Brad still off the lead at the front, but we've got Waikaraka Park at turn 1 at the moment. It's all on, isn't it?
It's we did expect it, and we have had some weeks like this, and it certainly has come to fruition. That been the normal turn 1 for us. So a couple of big shunts there, but the benefactors at that have been Chester Baccaris and Brad Still, Callum Pratt running in the top 3 so far. So keep an eye on the back. Jackson Susan Harlow already up to P17. Making his way through the field, and obviously our other drivers, Scott McLaughlin, Jaden Ramsey, will be making their way through the field. For Scotty McLaughlin, P26 already, and we'll be watching their progress as they make their way through the fields.
Yeah, so 37 cars, but it looks like Harlow's already made his way up into the top 15, just like we saw Jaden Ransley doing the previous weeks. So really solid opening lap by him. Obviously, it's almost a bit of a lottery just trying to get through turn 1, isn't it? Sometimes you're just a bit of a passenger, but it's the way motorsport is sometimes. As we jump on board here with Scott McLaughlin in the 17, trying to fight his way back through the field. So he might have been caught up in that first corner drama, but he'll put those eyes forward now. Or he's just run wide, and there's a bit of a car park on the exit here as well. So the super black entry's gone around again. There's that Zach Blinko's caught up in that. I think that's poor Scotty has got too far down the track and people are just trying to target him. But yeah, let's see. Hopefully he is a long race. He's very good at his strategy, so he'll be able to make his way back up through the field. As get really 400 meters down this track, and there's still guys heading off. As guys already heading to the pit lane for the stop. So not too sure if I'd be doing that, but obviously they've got a different plan up their sleeve, Tony.
Yeah, certainly probably a little bit earlier than we would like to be jumping in pit lane their side. But probably we do see people trying to get out of traffic and trying to jump the queue later on. but certainly we probably think that probably is a little bit early, given it is a 20-lap stint. You did mention that Scotty Mack is well renowned for his obviously sorting his pit stops out in the eSport series of supercars. So we'll keep an eye on that as we see the number 8 of Shane Olsen. Yeah,
He's got the Red Bull.
racer. He's in P5.
He's got the Holden Racing livery on a Ford Mustang.
Wow, I'm sure RD would be stoked to see that.
Yeah.
Paul Morris would make massive coverage of that on his Instagram story feed, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Good on him. Good to see he's having a bit of a laugh with the mix-up of the liveries there. So back as we go to Susan Harlow, already into the top 10 almost. So I'm sure a couple of corners, exit of Forest Elbow, he's definitely got to be in there. So it's 18 laps to go inside the top 10. He's definitely going to be a hot pick for this one.
Yeah, that's right. It's he was obviously always going to be a charger. Very experienced sim racer who said he was a TCR wildcard not long ago in Australia. So very, very much experienced doing a hell of a lot of sim racing. According from what Dave Sears told us, he's got some really good equipment underneath him, and that's obviously going to be helping as he charges through the field side.
Yeah, and it's still going on all the way. It looks like he's had a massive moment and almost ended up in the pit lane. He's got it back together, and we're just going to go to the simulation replay just to see exactly what happened. Whether he got the curb on exit, following as he comes out of the chase on the curb, grinds to the outside, it almost collects the wall, keeps it straight. He's almost worn out the steering rack heading down to Murray's corner, gathered it back up. And he's picked up a position on the exit of Murray's corner, so didn't end up too bad for him, TC.
That's it was obviously a fairly hectic sort of couple of corners, and but as you said, it's actually come off for him, so which is unheard of in that type of accident. So, but as we get back on board, we can see the two Shell V-Power cars here trying to gather themselves. And Scott McLaughlin running out of P14 at the moment, the ever famous number 17, as we know, and he's chasing down Travis Smith, our own Travis Smith, as he puts himself off into the Fujitsu sign rider.
Get up, get your eyes out of the mirrors, on Travis. He's been watching the mirrors.
Eyes up, Trav. Come on, Travis, you're better than that, mate. So as Travis runs through McPhillamy Park, trying to chase Scott down through the cutting section, making our way down into Conroe as we have a massive moment. So there's still plenty of action, as we go through the field there, Sty. So Jackson Susan Harlow made his way up to P4. He's chasing down those top three. Shane Olsen, Chester Beckeris, P2. And as we're still having some really big moments going through down onto Conrod Straight, it's never ending at the moment, so I can't keep up.
No, I mean, it's so hard here as well because obviously a lot of blind corners where you just come around and there's just going to be a car parked there. So going to be a lot of innocent victims there. Even an innocent spin, you can, obviously just accidentally collect someone. But on board here with Ollie Workman, obviously, he's had an absolute massive moment in the background. I just caught him as he's parked up. And he's just drive straight into the fence to get back out. But here we go, Scott McLaughlin inside the top 10 now, just behind him, Jaden Rainsley. And we're just going to go to the motor simulation replay just to see what happened. It was a massive moment. Looked like it was all under control here, and just drops the wheel on that curb, and then just, bit of opposite lock, and then just goes slight tag from behind and off into the fence. So super unlucky, running inside the top 10, really good effort. But it just shows you need to be on, obviously on the whole time. As we cut back to another Bunnings livery here, Bunnings snag, obviously, you might even see Bunnings snag on the side of this car. I did see one on the other one, but great move there by Nathan Anderson up the inside of the cutting, not easily done as well, because he's trying to get a car in between him and Jaden Rainsley, because obviously Rainsley, he's pretty hot at the moment, Tony.
Yeah, that's right. As we said, he's come off 4 weeks of some really, really good results. and he's going to be trying to fire himself through the field as quick as he can because he's got to have his A game this weekend. This evening. Scotty McLaughlin in P8, Jackson Susan Harlow P3. So he's got some top performers in front of him. So Jaden Ramsey obviously currently running in the P10 at the moment. So still a really good effort to get through to there. He's got around 16 laps to try and get back up inside that top 3 where Jackson Susan Harlow unfortunately already is, and he's going to be chewing time out of those top 2 as we get further into this race size. So but we're starting to see a couple of those other names being seen during the other week. William Exton, P13, Ryan Bailey, P22. That's where this reverse grid format's really good. It can sort of mix it up for those people who didn't quite have a good qualifying or a good first race. You can put them in the mix for that second race. So,
yeah, obviously if you get it through turn 1, lap 1, and these reverse grid races pretty clean, that can obviously set your race up. Towards the back end of it. There's just the Scott McLaughlin, fastest lap of the race so far. So 2:04.8. Obviously, quite a bit obviously of our qualifying times naturally just obviously passing the cars coming through. But 5 laps down now. I think we'll start to potentially see some pit stops come in maybe around lap 7 to lap 8 bracket for those guys wanting to try get that undercut and get that the best of that clean air. Then we will also see some guys probably do the opposite, come in maybe lap 13, lap 14, running along first in, and then just as the first stoppers tyres starting to go off, they'll come in and then try capitalise when they're on the good tyres. So hopefully we see a few different strategies here today as we ride on board with Taylor Bryant. He's behind Leo Scott, obviously. Great effort here by Leo, almost inside the top 10 again, Tony. He's obviously had a fairly clean first 5 laps of the race.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously just kept his nose clean there, Si. Hasn't done anything stupid and stayed out of obviously a fair amount of carnage that pursued in those first couple of laps. So and really doing that that livery has some good justice. So as we jump on board inside Jaden Ransley here, so couple of big moments there. So obviously the Shell V-Power car with the black wheels, if I remember rightly. So that was, can't remember who that was earlier on. So it had Nathan Crane had a massive moment heading on to Conrod, and obviously the benefactor of that is Jaden Ransley. So you'll see all these faster drivers, and you guys like Mitchell Sparrow and that have been doing plenty of driving, and just start to hold position as the faster guys come through. So massive moment there. So catches up as they go past the hotel there. Young Nathan Crane, as he's pushed hard by the Hamilton driver of Eaton Williams. So it looks like he's got on the throttle a little bit too early, and Eaton Williams might have just gotten to the back of him, but certainly wasn't the cause of that. You could see Nathan Crane's car certainly run out of tyres pretty early by the look of it, and he might be making his run down pit lane pretty early to get a new set of boots on that. As we see the Simon fired livery super black coming out of pit lane there, Simon, that must get the blood flowing a little bit, mate, where you see a bit of your own livery with some chrome on the racetrack, that, mate.
Mate, anytime you see chrome and fluoro on a livery, of course it's going to get the old blood flowing, eh? You can't beat it, to be fair. But yeah, definitely not an ideal round for Stephen Beaumont so far, but he'll truck on and try to salvage a good result here today. Looking at our liquid action leaderboard, Callum Pratt, solid job out in front, but he's only got a 2.6 second margin over Susan Harlow. We've just seen the two Bunnings cars just can't come together. Gee, unlucky, very unlucky there, but it's where the cookie crumbles sometimes, isn't it? Almost like the two Tickford teammates coming together, which we've seen a couple of times here at Bathurst, but plenty of action as we go down here. Jaden Ramsey, fantastic run, just got through on Nathan Edmund. That was so close to being such a big moment. This is where, Ransley, lots of power wheel spin, get on to coming out of Forest Elbow there. It's really going to compromise his run here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Nathan Anderson try popping in and have a bit of a lunge down to the chase here, Tony.
Yeah, you can certainly see. So as we jump on board with Scott McLaughlin there, as he's chasing down Shane Olsen, but these two cars here really seeing some attitude out of Jaden Ransley and Nathan Anderson's car. Nathan Anderson's car certainly looks like it's induced a big amount of understeer. Scotty McLaughlin, big dive down in towards the last turn. He's driven this track virtually a hell of a lot, also in person as well, obviously with the Bathurst victory and plenty of laps previous years. So certainly a big campaigner here, done plenty of laps around here, so knows this track like the back of his hand. But as you said earlier, you'll start to see a few of these guys, certainly Nathan Anderson, Jaden Ramsey, may start to look at a pit stop very soon, because Jaden Ramsey's car certainly looking very oversteery as we're coming down the middle. And Nathan Anderson really struggling to get the change of direction done in that car, as you can certainly see a lot of understeer sneaking in this car. So as we head up to the cutting, these guys absolutely applying the blowtorch to Shane Olsen there. So he's either moved out of the way and seen them coming, or a nice clean move by those guys as they start to hunt down that top three. And we look at the top of our leaderboard there, Simon. Jackson, Susan Harlow, Australia, popped Callum Pratt off that P1, and a massive moment there, the 999 of Callum Pratt. We stuck the commentator's curse on him. He's been doing such a great job this evening so far as we jump on our Motum simulation replay here. So he's obviously got the bit between the teeth, started to chase down Jackson, Susan Harlow as we come through McPhillamy down towards the dipper, and he's overshot the right, and then he's got the car to turn and oversteered through the right-hander, hitting the wall on the left. And this is sort of just before where Chaz Mostert had that big accident breaking his leg a couple of years ago at Bathurst there. So he's torn the rear diff out of his car, and that will be Callum's day done, down 24th, which is a bit of a shame. So back to our running inside our top 3 and 4. We'll see there's back to our ding-dong battle that we saw in the first race here, Simon.
Yeah, these two guys were at it, and Shane Olsen right behind him as well. One thing I was just thinking, then obviously, Scott's obviously taken a lot of things around you. When Scott was behind Shane Olsen, do you think he would have realised it was the Holden Racing Team livery on a Ford Mustang? Maybe we can ask him if we can catch up with Scott after the race. It'll be quite a interesting thing. But he's got about a 13-second margin to try cash down Harlow. So let's see what strategies come in place. So we just jump on board here with Isaac Fletcher. Obviously a bit of a moment through the chase, and he's up into Murray's corner. So ahead of him, he's got Isaac Fletcher and Zach Blinko. So these guys have always been, in the previous weeks, battling around with each other as well. And I'm sure they've got plenty of banter going, and there's bragging rights for these guys too.
Yeah, that's right. They've done pretty much every night, these guys. So it's been great to see them supporting the platform. Obviously supporting people like Liquid Action, who are our general sponsors that have come on board, as well as the other partners, Skill Trap Group, Carter's Tyres, and previous sponsors in the form of Tony Hurst at Cook Strait Crossings with those auctions that he put up. So it's been great for those businesses to support the KartSport series. As we jump back on board, it's all go back here with and we've got a safety car that's just come out, just had a notification come through. So yellow flag safety car has come out. So that's really going to put the cat amongst the pigeons there, Simon. We 8 laps in of our 20-lap race. This is going to condense the field, shrinking that margin down. So that 18-second margin, as we see these boys still going hammer and tongs under yellow flag, that 19-second margin that Jackson, Susan Harlow's got, that's going to be shrunk back down to nothing, and pretty much reset that running order for nearly a sort of looking at a 10-lap sprint towards the end there, Si.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So unlike most races as well, where you could dive into the pit lane, take that compulsory fuel stop, you can't do that in iRacing. So the pit lane automatically closes. So this could really work in favour for those guys that we spoke about that put it on lap 7 or lap 8. Because they've done their pit stop, jump on the back of the train, and then when the pit lane opens, these guys file in, they'll go straight to the end of the queue. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone has done that. But we just got onto the back of the Guild Trap Porsche safety car, and they'll lead us around for a couple of laps. But yeah, when you've got a healthy margin of 12 seconds, definitely not what you want to see as a safety car.
No, that's right. That's right. No, Jackson drove a hell of a good race to get through there. Kept his nose clean. Didn't see him getting involved in anything, and then to have that completely shrunk by a safety car can be pretty demoralising. So, but he's a racer at the end of the day. He's done plenty of this stuff as we see some massive moments there happening even behind the safety car. These boys aren't scared. This looks like that time that Murph and Mark Sambros come together up there. So, but so we're gonna try and drag in Scotty Mack and have a word to him under safety car, but just having a few little technical difficulties at the moment. So if we can get Scotty in, we'll let you know. We'll have a bit of a debrief with him. He can let us know how his race is going so far, and go from there. So still on the safety car.
You're with us, Scotty.
Yeah, I got you loud and clear. What's going on?
Hectic first lap there, by the looks of it. Reverse grid race, no damage. She was all going to be on, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's a bit going on. A few incident points that weren't acute by me. You know, I didn't really get them. That wasn't my doing. So I'll have to ask for a cheeky black flag cleared later on. But nah, it's been fun. Been fun. It's just a matter of trying to hold on. I got a pit yet, and I think some other people have pitted, have they? Or
yeah, there's a couple of people that are pitted ahead of you there, Scotty, mate. So, but we'll see how it pans out. So obviously, while we're still under safety car, mate, you're getting back behind the real thing next week, Sydney Motorsport Park.
yeah, man. Yeah, really excited. It's gonna be really cool just to get the real thing going. I mean, it's been fun doing this sort of stuff, but you know, as you well know, it's not nothing like the real thing, and it's the same for any go-kart racer as well out there as well. It's one of those deals where you can play the games the first couple of weeks were fine, and then now it's like, oh, I just want to get on with it. So yeah, it's all good. It's all good. It's all part of it, and I'm glad we've had this though to get it through. But yeah, the real racing's going to begin soon. It's going to be good.
Yeah, that's right, mate. That's right. We'll certainly be. We've got live sports all up and running. Obviously, rugby and that all up and going at the moment. But we certainly can't wait to see all you and the rest of the Kiwi boys on our screens over here, mate. We've certainly been hanging out for it.
Yeah, it's certainly. I think for NZ and everyone there as well, it's going to be cool. And got back behind my wheel on my KZ2 in Australia, and that's been really good too. So. It's good to get back in. I'm sorry, I got people talking to my ear every which way, so there's stuff going on everywhere, but it's all good. I got to pit now.
No, that's all good, mate. So we'll get you into pit lane. We'll let you carry on there, buddy. You obviously got 11 laps to run. Best of luck, and we'll maybe have a talk at the end.
How much fuel do you reckon I need?
Just gas it up, son.
Gas it up.
Give the pump man $20, I reckon, and that should do you to the finish.
Yeah, that's what I'm figuring. Is anyone here to put fuel in for me or something? I don't know how it works.
She's chaos in there, mate. She's chaos in there. Don't get run over.
No, I just nearly ran over me bloke. I just went through a car, so it's all happening.
Did you notice the Red Bull Holden Racing livery on the Ford Mustang out there?
Yeah. I thought it was Shane there for a second, but no, it was. I figured it was someone else, but it definitely looked a lot better than on the Holden, so for sure.
So I must agree. It actually looked good on that Mustang, mate. So, but no, it's been great having you along, mate. Really appreciate your time. I know you're busy boys, so great for you to come along and race against all these young KartSport drivers, which obviously get to watch in real life. So that's pleasant about it.
Yeah, no, good boys. It's been fun. It's like, it's always good. You know, I'm a proud patron of the KartSport New Zealand and obviously Hamilton Car Club and you always try and be a good role model wherever you can be. So really cool to race with some of the young kids and a couple of the old ones as well. Definitely a couple of oldies in here. So enjoying it.
Yeah, well done, mate. And we'll, as we said, we'll keep an eye on your Twitch account too. You might be having some live onboards of you in the KZ2 next time you're up by the sounds, you said.
Yeah. So I got on my GoPro working, and I'm gonna live stream basically from my GoPro to the Twitch next time I'm out. I'm actually out on Thursday, so keep an eye out for that, and trying to just make karting a bit more broader, and not only in Australia but in New Zealand as well. So yeah, hanging out for it.
Excellent, mate. We'll be keeping an eye on that for sure. So, but I will let you get back to it, mate, and we'll hook back into it very shortly. And best of luck, mate. We'll see you at the finish.
Cheers, boys.
Cool. Thanks, Scotty. All right, there, Si. So, obviously, massive amount of pit stops there for people. And so everyone's recharged, re-rubbered, refueled. 10-lap sprint race coming up very shortly. Si, what do you reckon?
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. There were a few lap cars in between, Scotty and Harlow, and they're now gone. So it's going to be these two, from the get-go. Yes, they got a few cars in front of them that they'll want to try and clear early, but it's definitely going to be a 10-lap sprint race between these two. I mean, there's only 2 tenths between them in qualifying, but as we know, 2 tenths around Bathurst, it's over a 2-minute lap. It's fairly close. So get in the draft, you'll be able to easily stay with them. So be interesting to see where Ransley's got to as well. Anderson, see what sort of progress those guys have made, because they were looking very racy at that one point, just behind Scotty. As we see, Jaden there started at 36. He's been as high as 5th, but he's running in the 8th position, so may have just lost a couple of positions in the pit stop. It's actually quite easy. The pit stops are quite random. You can actually have a fast pit stop, maybe like 8.5 seconds, but you can also have a slow pit stop, maybe 9.5 seconds. And yeah, it's a little bit of a lottery in terms of that, but it's just like real life, isn't it? You can have a super quick pit stop, or you can have a slow pit stop as well. So bit of pressure on the boys, but it's good how we can have it quite realistic.
Yeah. And obviously, as you mentioned there, Si, you can have a bad pit stop or a good pit stop. And it sounds like Scotty McLaughlin and Jackson Susan Harlow had some fairly average pit stops by their teams. So Jackson Susan Harlow's, I think, blowing out sort of around 13 seconds, I think there. So I think we're about nearly ready to go. Can't be too far away. We might see our Giltrap Porsche pulling off very shortly. No, we're going to go around one more time. No,
he tricked you. He tricked you. And I just thought Susan Harlow off to the inside there, so on the grass, not ideal. And the safety car didn't quite fool him, but Scott McLaughlin has been the beneficiary of that one. He's up into 3rd already, so bit of a gap, but 3 wide here, 4 wide. And they're still going off into left, right. That's Ransley caught up in that.
That's a shame.
Just want to try and clear, but Zane Hills, who else? Yeah, quite a few of our mid-pack runners there caught up in that. So it's left a healthy margin to the guys in front, but unfortunately, a few guys caught up there, Tony.
Well, as they say, Simon, safety cars breed safety cars, or safety cars breed yellows. So we'll see. All these boys are all on cold tyres now as well too. So let's watch these first couple of laps, as most of them are on a fresh set of boots from their pit stop. And so keeping on some of those attitudes. So on board with Jackson Susan Harlow here. You can see a very experienced sim racer in action here. So you can see he's not using a massive amount of track. The attitude in the car is very smooth, whereas you look at the guys in front of him, Nathan Anderson, Mitchell Sparrow, they're trying to pump that brake pedal all the way through the firewall by the look. And certainly the attitude on Jackson's car is a little bit smoother. He just takes us down through the dipper, and he'll be looking at making a pass as we get further down towards Conrod, as I think is that Nathan Anderson running very, very narrow as we head on down onto Conrod Straight there, and they've got the lights ablaze as we're heading down towards our last couple of sections here. So 11 laps down, and then we are getting in well into the second half of our race.
Yeah, so it looks like Mitch Sparrow just obviously I thought did a really smart move there in terms of let Harlow go through and just followed him through. No point, he's much faster, so no point getting tied up in a race with him, because it's only really going to cost you time in the long run. But great move there by him into the chase. So let's see, he started 24th, so he's already up to 7th, so very, very strong start to him. Let's see if he can hold it together in the second half of the race, but he's in a fairly feisty bunch here. We've got the Red Bull Holden Racing Ford Mustang of Shane Olsen, just got spun, and that looks like we put the commentator's curse on Mitch Sparrow there too, because he's been caught up as well in that, Tony.
Yeah, that's a real shame because, as we said, they've been some top performers that we've seen week in and week out in our liquid action KartSport events. So, big shame for them. And would those accidents have happened if we hadn't had a safety car? Maybe not, but that's just the way these things go when you do have a full course yellow and a safety car. They can tend to breed a few accidents, as they say. So Mike Muir is our leader. He's got a very small margin as we see some pretty serious moments as we go up through Fujitsu. So these cars still moving around a lot. Quite a big jump, obviously, from our Skip Barber car that we were running last week as we go up through McPhillamy Park. Really struggling to get the car turned in there. Jackson Susan-Harlow really meeting his apex, is doing a good job as he is in behind the number 8 of Nathan Krang there. So big moment there. So Nathan Krang has had a dive as we get down onto Conrod Straight there. And Jackson Susan-Harlow will certainly have those ears pinged back, trying to get shrink that margin, get by that Nathan Krang, and get up towards those two leaders as quick as he can, no doubt, Si.
Yeah, it looks like he's managed to get the job done there, and now he's got a fairly clean road up towards the back to Scotty. So he's definitely going to be eyes forward. He won't be too concerned about a threat from behind. Nathan Anderson's still just been caught up here as we've just got one car coming back onto the circuit. Was that Mike Muir? So that was our leader. Unfortunately, he's made a mistake at Murray's Corner there, and he's put it off. So he's seen the front guys come in, and he's put it off. But off to our motion simulation replay. On board here, fantastic vision here, off and down to that final corner, Murray's Corner. Looks like he's just gone. Oh, he's just clipped that inside curb. He's probably done that line every lap as well, but just got it wrong this one lap, and you can see it just fired him off. So very, very unlucky there, Tony.
Yeah, a bit of a shame. It sort of looked like for a second like he'd locked the rears on turning, and I think clipping that curb was sort of the end of it really for him, which is a bit of a shame. So back on board our leaders here, and hasn't Jackson Susan-Harlow really shrunk that margin very quickly? And Scotty McLaughlin's got no one in front of him to chase, so he's just got to pin the ears back, get the eyes forward. And this whole battle pack of these top 4 cars, this is really, really impressive. And Nathan Anderson is doing a fantastic job keeping these boys on their toes as well. And Nathan Krang also coming into the mix with the Shell V-Power Racing with the black wheels, that livery there. I'm really impressed with that there this evening. So Scotty McLaughlin leading them down the hill, doing a great job, really hitting his marks. Jackson Susan-Harlow just hunting in Scotty's mirrors there as we take the dipper down through onto our 13th run down Conrod Straight, down towards our last couple of corners here. So Jackson will be tucked right in there, trying to make the most of the draft. Scotty's placed his car right in the middle, making it as hard as possible as they drop a wheel off. Down towards the left-hander, big move by Jackson. He almost got the left-hand side of the car on the grass there. He thinks better of it, gets out of the brake, and gets the car back in line. So Jackson Harlow really applying the blowtorch here. So
yeah, and look, Scotty's got defensive as well. He knows the pace that Jackson's got. Look, he drives it off narrow on the exit, and it's really hurt the run of Harlow, and it's probably going to make him a little bit vulnerable to Nathan Anderson. Look, Nathan Anderson popped out there, thought about having a go, thought better of it, and wants to get that all-important run up there. But look at Nathan Krang doing a fantastic job holding on to these guys. Maybe if Roger's watching Scott's Twitch, he might be able to get him a seat. He might be taking a Fabian seat potentially with a solid effort like this. But look at that, Harlow to the outside of Scott, ran a little bit wide on the dirty stuff, and that's presented a fantastic opportunity for Nathan Anderson to sneak past there. So great awareness there by Nathan Anderson to pounce at a very rare opportunity.
Yeah, good job by him. And then don't forget Zach Blinko as well. Zach Blinko sniffing around that 5th position. And if these boys are going to battle away and shrink those margins, but they're going to hammer and tongs. We've got 6 laps to run. Zach Blinko might even be able to shrink the margin in the Castrol Kelly Racing livery there. So been quite cool to watch Rick Kelly build his sim through the whole eSport series with supercars, and that Castrol livery looking really impressive on that Kelly Racing Mustang there. So it's all go as we head down towards our last couple of sections through the dipper here, down onto Conrod Straight. Jackson Susan Harlow, P3, Nathan Anderson, P2. Scotty McLaughlin, our leader, by a very thin 3/10 as we watch this draft come into play here, side. And we'll see how this pans out over the next couple of corners.
Yeah, and obviously it's a Ford, Holden, Ford. So if you're a blue fan, plenty of for you to cheer out there as Nathan Anderson slips down the inside. But once again, well, we spoke about race 1, fantastic racing room given there by everyone. Harlow pounced on the right hand to the outside.
Oh,
It looks like Scott still off the red as he's managed to keep it, but they're 3 wide heading up to turn 1. Oh, is this going to end in tears? And Scott ducks to the inside, and got fantastic one side to the other, and it's unfortunately pushed Harlow out, but he's got fantastic pace. So 5 laps to go, he'll be able to hunt these guys down. And look who's ended up in the front there, Nathan Crane.
Nathan Crane, the beneficiary of that. So massive move by Scotty McLaughlin down to turn 1. Now he pokes his nose down. He doesn't quite get up past the B pillar, gives him plenty of room. And this is all I can't keep up, Simon. I'm too old for this. You're going to have to help me out.
No, and look, Zach Blinko, we just spoke about him before being getting amongst it. He's right in there. He's battling for the lead now. So, and Nathan hangs on there. Ran a little bit wide at turn 2, but up through Fujitsu now. Mate, just focus on your turning points, and then don't worry about that. Don't stress it, mate. I know you got the V8 Supercar champion behind you, but just worry about your little, your turning points, break points, and then you'll be fine. So, I can imagine for him it's very daunting. But look at that, side by side down off Skyline. You don't often see that, do you? I've never ever seen that before, let alone sim racing. Generally ends up in tears, but not today, Tony.
God, Jackson Susan Harley doesn't know what's hit him. He's first race, and now it's all guns blazing. He thought he was going to chip on through, got to the lead. Safety car comes out. Now it's just all turned to madness. So Scotty McLaughlin back in the lead. He was in this position last time, but with the corners to go, he dropped all the way back. So Scotty's going to lead them down towards the hotel, down through the fast right.
Have a go, Nathan. Have a go.
Jackson Susan Harlow, get in the hole. A massive moment there. Scotty McLaughlin's managed to just unlock the rears there, get the car turned in as we go down to Murray's corner, down to the last corner. He's going to stay hard left this time. Wind a bit more bias back to the front end to get that car turned. Well done, nice clean drive. He gives Nathan Crane plenty of room as we head back out onto the pit straight for our 16th time. Nathan Crane goes defensive. Jackson Susan Harlow fires it down the inside. A nice clean move by him, and really good driving there by Nathan Crane too. He's used his mirrors. He's seen Jackson come through and given him some racing where he got, I need a jet. Struggling here, Simon.
Yeah, and look, Nathan Anderson, I felt like just popped out of nowhere there, and he might have the run in, he might be P2 coming out of turn 2 here. Can he hang to the outside car? Probably wise, tucks in back to the back of Harlow, but we're back to McLaughlin, Harlow, Anderson. So this is fantastic racing by all of them. Harlow gets in super deep, right onto the back of Scott. Plenty of power down oversteer, and they're going to go side by side. No, they don't. They think better of it. But Zach Blinko's just got back into the mix as well. So obviously all one line up through here. Man, Harlow looking so racy as he has a look at Gotti side by side. This is fantastic. A little bit of rubbing, but gets the job done. But he's got it all crossed up down through the dipper here, side by side. Scott's right up behind him now, and then Nathan Anderson is sitting there ready to pounce in case these two make a mistake.
Wow, Jackson Susan Harley just driving that. Oh, no,
Oh.
good moment for Scott McLaughlin. He was pursuing Jackson Susanhalo as we went down the hill. Jackson Susanhalo bouncing off every concrete wall as we went down. As we jump on board the motor simulation replay, I'm going to have to turn the fire down. It's getting really hot in here. So as you can see, they made a little bit of contact there. Jackson Susanhalo's missed a few of his apexes there. So Scotty McLaughlin hounding him as we go down the hill. He's turned in, got the car quite narrow. Scotty's got in there, just got to the back of him slightly. Missed his turn-in point and got the wall and had a massive moment. So very similar to what his boss Dick Johnson has had a couple of moments there as you head down to Conrad. So shame for Scotty. What a brilliant race. So that was really panning out fantastic with some good old ding-dong battles, and really cool for the likes of Nathan Krang, Zach Blinko and Nathan Anderson to be mixing it up with some experienced racers. So after all that, we can take a sip, take a deep breath there. So it's all sort of calm down a little bit. 3 laps to run. Jackson Susanhalo got the headlights ablaze. Zach Blinko there, and P3 Nathan Anderson and P2 there. So really impressive last couple of laps there. So
Yeah, that was super cool to see. Some super close racing. I think, Scotty, you there with us now, but what happened? It was your first, second, then you end up on your lid.
Yeah, there's a bit going on. Yeah, I was about. I'm screwed now. I've pitted, but I was about a lap and a half short on fuel, so I was trying to save a whole heap of fuel and keep those guys behind me at the same time.
Oh,
So, yeah.
You needed to give the guy $30, not $20.
Yeah. The guy screwed me over huge. He shortchanged me the whole deal. So, yeah. Anyway, it was fun. It was fun. Jackson, he sort of pushed me out of the way at McPhillamy. So I'm like, nah, not having any of it. But yeah, I tried to send it, but nah, it was good fun.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, it was bloody good to watch, mate. The commentary box was steaming up down here, mate. I was struggling to keep up. It was really impressive. That puts heed to some of the supercars E stuff you've done this year. That's probably some of the best racing we've seen.
Oh, that was fun. I didn't realise we were 3 wide. I don't know if you saw the move at turn 1 when I went from the outside to the inside. I didn't realise we were 3 wide until I went to the inside, and then there was another car there. I'm like, well, I'm just going to have to do what I can here. So it was funny. It was a good racing. Really good fun with the guys, and yeah, good time.
Yeah,
oh, no, mate, it was bloody good. You carry on.
Obviously, it's so cool for a few guys who obviously like junior Rotex drivers and Vortex Minute Rock drivers to actually, go side by side. You can tell if they're looking in the mirrors a little bit. A few of them ran wide when they saw them behind you, but things like that, it's all part of learning, isn't it, growing up?
Yeah, that's what I said. I had a good battle with Nathan Anderson in the first race, and yeah, he was. There was a couple of moments where he made a couple of mistakes and stuff, and you'll probably look back on it and go, "Oh yeah, that was probably right." But yeah, it was one of those deals where you just enjoy the battles, and it's like a big club day, a big club day at your local club. It's funny as. Anyway, boys, I'm going to take off because my wife's got dinner, and if I don't leave, I'm screwed.
Oh, mate, well, I think you've earned it after tonight, Scotty. So it's been great having you. So thanks for coming along. I think on behalf of KartSport New Zealand, all the KartSport drivers out there, really appreciate your time, buddy. And we'll be certainly got the TV screens on next weekend when you all hit the track for.
Yep, thanks, boys. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I'll try and make next week before I go to Sydney. So we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much, Scott McLaughlin there, too.
Cool. Thanks, Scotty. Yeah, how good
All right.
take time out of his schedule, obviously doing supercars for the past 10 weeks, and takes the time out to join our Chocolate Fish Virtual Club Day. So super cool to see. But so we head back to the action. Just under 2 laps to go now. Following Ben Stewart here. So really good performance once again. First good race started. He had a good show in that first one, and he's already up to 11th, trying to chase down Zane Hills. So these two, classic Ford versus Holder Mustang, and if you don't, that's actually one of Murphy's Super Tourer liveries. So quite cool to see, a bit more local flavour coming out as well, Tony.
Yeah, that's right. So back on board here with Nathan Krang. and Nathan Anderson. So these guys still going hammer and tongs, obviously, while we left the visuals there for a little bit. So, but the race hasn't stopped. We've got a little over 2 laps to run. Nathan Crank ducking into pit lane, can only guess that he was probably going to be a little bit short on fuel, and which is a bit of a shame because he was doing a really good job. So Stephen Beaumont out of all that. So massive moment there is for Ed Williams there as we head down the Murray's Corner coming onto the front straight there. Really impressed with that old DJR Wilson security livery there. So Stephen Beaumont, P3. So once again there, Simon, one of your liveries has come through. You've lent him your race suit and your helmet for the evening, and it's all looking pretty good for Stephen Beaumont this evening there, Si.
Yeah, he's had plenty of work, hasn't he? He's been caught up in the wars, so as long as he returns my helmet not smelling too bad, I'll be pretty happy. But yeah, we saw him down in 30th position before, so really great job to see him up inside that top 3, and just persevering. And that's the thing about these longer races. Even if you have a bad couple of laps, these longer races, you just got to keep trucking, you just got to keep going, because anything can happen. It's just like the real life Bathurst, 161 laps. Chaz Moss and Paul Morris ended up in the fence, early on that race, and they still come back to win it. So that's why these longer races, you never, ever give up. As we see, Leo Scott, he has been in the thick of a lot of action tonight, and thick of some good, hard, clean racing as well. So he's on the back of Callum Pratt here. Obviously one of our early leaders of this race, but unfortunately made a slight mistake. So 3/10 here. He's obviously going out nice and wide. Just didn't quite catch who that was, but there was a car facing the wrong way. Poor old Mitch Sparrow had such a good running, but we've put more than the commentator's curse on him, Tony, haven't we? He's been, ever since we gave him a good rap, he's been caught up in a lot of the action.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, poor old Mitchell. He's had a bit of a bad run since we picked up on how he was going. So, but he's been a top performer the last sort of 6 or 7 weeks that we've been running. So as we jump on board here, so obviously Callum as well, and Mitchell Sparrow here with as we're heading down towards Murray's Corner. So massive big moment there for Leo Scott. Just locked the inside left wheel, trying to get the car turned in. As we start our final lap here of our 20-lap reverse grid feature here at Bathurst, and obviously running 2020 supercars. So no surprises though. Jackson Susan Harlow, our leader. So he started off the back, reasonably clean run to get up to the lead. Then a safety car we had sort of mid-race, didn't we, Si? And then all chaos ensued, and I think we probably had the best 3 laps that you could possibly see on the e-racing event over the last sort of month or so. It sort of puts could have jumped right into the supercars coverage that they had over the last couple of weeks and put some of that stuff to shame. So really impressive showing by him. Great to have the Australian driver joining us, fresh off TCR stuff in iRacing, so very experienced. Nathan Anderson, what a night he's had. We see him having a massive moment on throttle, leading on to Conrod Straight there. He's been there or thereabouts all night. Had a massive battle with Scott McLaughlin in the first race, so really good showing by him. And so as we see Jackson Susan Harlow coming down to take the checkered flag, thoroughly deserves 2 points for him. No doubt we'll get him up for a chat very shortly once we're all finished. And Zach Blinko, there's our NZ Motorsport man there in P2 in the Kelly Racing inspired Mustang. So really good job by him. He picked up a lot of pieces. And then Simon Evans / Stephen Beaumont in P3 there, Si.
Yeah, we might have to start calling. Stephen Beaumont had Mitch's livery, my livery, a couple of times, so we might have to hyphenate his name and start calling him Stephen Beaumont Evans in the future if he keeps on with these fantastic liveries. But Leo Scott, he's charging his way down to the finish now, going back to Shane Olsen and Nathan Krang. And it's Nathan Craig. He's been busy. He had a fantastic run. Obviously, battle with Scott McLaughlin, Harlow, Anderson, and he's going to bring home his Ford Mustang in 13th position. So, typical iRacing fashion. Here we go. There we go. Bit of X Games.
Well done.
Big air competition by Taylor Bryant there. So he's decided his race was over and done with, and he's gone for the big air. So he's definitely taken home the award for that. On board here with Simon Burling-Claridge. So fairly quiet night for him, but running in 16th position as we come down the hill for the final time for him. So it'll be interesting to see when he's back at the kart track next. He'll be, I'm sure, dishing out a few extra black flags to the guys who put him in the fence during the iRacing season. But just saw him click the fence, so it's still in the way for him.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, as you said, last weekend, first weekend for club days, which was great. You were out at KartSport Auckland. I know KartSport Manor were too. KartSport Dunedin had a fairly frosty start there. They're typical Dunedin weather. And Wellington will be up and running very soon, I'd imagine. So Simon chafing at the bit to get out there and supporting his local club through being a steward, which we all certainly appreciate. So Simon Burling-Claridge coming down for 16th place there. And massive field this evening. Obviously 44 cars in our server tonight there, Si, grid. And as we said, certainly great to have Scotty McLaughlin joining us, and obviously our other Australian and Jackson Susan Harlow. So no doubt we'll try and get Jackson up here for a chat, no doubt there, Si.
Yeah, I think we've just got him in the waiting room now, so we'll pop him through in a moment. But I think we might have him there now. Jackson Suzanne, hello mate, you were class of the field today. Obviously you wouldn't have liked that, or you had a pretty solid qualifying race one, but that safety car in race two definitely threw things up, didn't they?
Yeah, it was good fun. I had a really good battle with Scott there for a bit, and then I think he missed his brake marker or something and put it in the wall. But it was a real fun battle with him for a couple of laps, and with all the other guys, we smashed into each other a couple of times. But that's what we're here to do: have some racing, and if we rub, we rub.
Yeah, exactly. It's the best thing about the iRacing as well, isn't it? I mean, and you've obviously done a lot of iRacing. You won the TCR race here a few weeks ago. You probably wouldn't notice, but I was actually in the race as well. So I was just a bit of a grid filler, mate, rolling around 35th position or something. But you've obviously done quite a bit of iRacing over this break.
Yeah, done heaps. I haven't had any real life racing, so this has been the closest thing to it. And a lot of the guys that are racing real life, we all jump on and do some racing together, which is really fun. We can kind of have hard battles on this like we do in real life, and if we take each other out in this, which we usually do, we can't really be that mad at each other. At least it's not we're wiping each other out in real life.
Yeah, exactly. You can just push all to escape, reset, and then go out again. So, mate, it's good to have you back, and hopefully we'll have you here next week. And as Scott said, he wants to come back next week, so you might have to come back and try beat him again for some bragging rights.
Yeah, might have to. Hopefully I'll be back next week for another good battle, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, mate. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
All right, so that was great to obviously have Jackson Susan Harlow join us back. You know, he was back with us when we sort of first started, so really cool to have him back, and really talented young driver, nice young guy, and really appreciate his efforts in coming and racing with us tonight. So as we jump at our results there, Scotty McLaughlin 21 after a really good showing, really put on a fantastic show for us. I was certainly struggling to keep up in the commentary box. I think you were too, so I could hear you heading through your microphone as we go all the way down to P30. Brad Still, P25, Ryan Bailey, P30, Jaden Ransley, P29, not his night in that final race. So all the way down through position 37, few familiar names there. Hayden Baccaris, Braden Snowden, Cameron Freeman, all familiar names that we've seen week in and week out. So Cool for them to make it through to the feature, but obviously not the night that they would have been wanting, Simon.
No, not at all. But as you know, motorsport, it can't always go your way. You're always going to have the odd bad day there. But how it was great to have the first real club days back on the weekend. But also, it's great to see a number of guys race at a proper club day on Sunday just gone, but they still showing back up to support the KartSport virtual club day series that we got thanks to Liquid Action. So let's see what we got next week. Obviously, we're open to all the feedback from all the drivers as well. Obviously, there was this week's choice was decided by them in terms of the track, the format. They even chose to have the damage off as well. So I thought it was pretty solid racing there tonight, Tony. Obviously, we saw some awesome battles right the way through the night.
Yeah, very much so. It was when you sort of say damage off, that normally gets people a little bit worried. We're really impressed with the racing that we saw with all those top 6 races. We see a few visuals here on our motor simulation replay. So obviously 1 more week left for our Liquid Action KartSport event. We really appreciate the sponsorship from the Browen family through Liquid Action, and also our regular KartSport partners with Giltrap Group, Carter's Tyres, and then obviously previously our supporters of the event with Tony Hurst at Straight Crossing Fairings. So jump on the Facebook page there, team. We'll put some polls up for what we'll be running next week. Tell us what you think. It's all about you as a driver. You're the customer at the end of the day. See your product that you're driving in, and also get out there, support your local tracks, support your local kart shops, and we can now kickstart KartSport, obviously back at real tracks, while also supporting the KartSport events on Tuesday nights. So thanks again for a great night there, Simon, in the commentary box. It's been great, and look forward to next week. By all means, it should be an absolute cracker.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Section's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?